Hi all. So the in our practice, we doctors, when we check with the patients about their appetite or their hunger pattern or symptoms related to the digestive system, the most commonly faced questions or the symptoms that they present are of bloatedness or heaviness in the stomach, sometimes rumbling in the stomach, and sometimes a mild ache or discomfort after eating, or too many burps, or they could complain of flatus, passing flatus very frequently, and very rarely we also come up with symptoms of heartburn or acid regurgitation. Heartburn is not that uncommon, but regurgitation, that is, they can feel the food coming to the throat. And people also say that at the middle of the night they wake up feeling soreness in the throat and dry cough, and sometimes even breathlessness. So these are all symptoms related to acidity and indigestion, what we call generally dyspepsia or acid reflux. So the symptoms vary between the two. We would be able to actually distinguish between the two, but then I am going to club it together and give you some tips how you could improve your digestive system as a whole. So sometimes these symptoms also present as a manifestation of some underlying disease conditions, and sometimes it is also related to the medications that you are on. Some of the strong medications can give these symptoms. Generally, you are prescribed, if you go to an allopathic doctor, they would prescribe you some proton pump inhibitors or the antacids, and that is how you deal with it. But there are so many herbs and spices and changes in the diet which could actually keep these symptoms under control. So I would suggest that you first try out these before you start on any medications. Now, people complain that these symptoms, they are able to feel these symptoms or experience these symptoms generally after a heavy meal, which they say is after eating oily food or spicy food, and sometimes they also say that it is only in the night that I feel this symptom, and some say if I do not catch up with sleep, good sleep in the night, then the next day I do feel these symptoms. Now all these are true, and that is what we need to correct basically. So the food that we take should be light, and it should be in the right quantity. We have these digestive enzymes which help with the process of digestion. So the digestion starts with the saliva in the mouth, and it goes to the ends in the intestine. So throughout there are various enzymes and acids and secretions which would act upon these food depending on the type of food that you take. If whether it is fatty food, carbohydrates, proteins, these are all acted upon by different secretions or the enzymes and the secretions, and that is how the digestion and the absorption takes place. So the quantity of the food, the quality of the food that you take will influence these enzyme secretions. So if you tend to take large meal at a time, if you are not used to that kind of a meal, then immediately the body cannot cope up with that new quantity, and that is how one can feel the indigestion. And sleep, if you go to bed immediately after a heavy meal, then the energy which is supposed to come into the digestive system is going for various other repair processes in the body that will impair the digestion. Heavy activities after the intake of food, immediately after the intake of food, if you get into some physical activities, that can also divert the energy and make the digestion go sluggish. So these are things that we need to bear in mind when we eat food. And when we say heavy food, people generally relate it to high fat food. Yes, high fat is difficult to digest. The gastric emptying time is longer for high fat food, but it is also the quality of fat that you take. Not all fats will lead to indigestion, symptoms of indigestions, or they are not as difficult to digest. So, if you ask me which is the best oil to use in your cooking, it depends on what you have been brought up with, like from the childhood, pertaining to your region or your household cuisine, which is the oil that you are most accustomed to. It could either be the groundnut oil, or it could be the sesame oil or coconut oil. You could use this as the main oil, but along with that you can also add the others in smaller proportions, because each oil has its own benefits. You don't get all the essential fatty acids through one particular oil. So, if you combine all these oils together in smaller proportions, that would be the best way of giving the body the adequate fat. Ghee, if you take 1 or 2 teaspoons of pure cow's ghee per day, that will only aid your digestion. It is not going to make you feel heavy. And the fatty food, when prepared at home, you will realize that you are able to assimilate it better rather than when you take it from outside, because the simple reason being, we do not generally reuse or reheat the oils, whereas when they do it commercially, they would have to do those things, and that can end up in trans fatty acids, acid liberation, which can impair your digestive system and many other disturbances in the body. So, that has to be avoided, or you can reduce on that as much as you could. And ash gourd juice is generally advised, is a juice that we generally advise when people complain of indigestion as well as acidity. So, how you take it is around 50 to 100 ml of ash gourd. Ash gourd is that white pumpkin that we generally use here. So, that or even the bottle gourd juice will give similar benefit. If you take that around 50 to 100 ml in the morning, after the intake of 2 glasses of warm water in the morning, it can definitely help with these symptoms. Now, the intake of warm water in the morning, why I suggest is on an empty stomach, is because this has a very stimulating effect on the enzymes in the body. It will prepare the entire digestive system for the day's food and its digestive process. And throughout the day, if you could take warm water, that is always helpful. I have also mentioned it in my previous videos. Now, the next entity is a spicy food. Generally, people say when I eat something spicy, that's when I feel these symptoms, particularly the acidity. I would say there are many spices which we use in our general cuisine, like cumin or fennel or ginger, garlic, pepper, black pepper. These are all healthy. These will not cause any indigestion if taken in the right quantity and if the method of preparation is right, like not too much of oil and fried and then taken. Rather, if you take it in the right quantity in a balanced way, it will only aid your digestion. Of course, the fiery spices like red chilies and green chilies could be used moderately, but other spices will only aid with the digestion. So, try to eat at proper time and definitely give a gap of at least 2 hours between dinner and the bedtime. If you can make it 3 hours, even better, because by then the food is completely digested, and then when you go to bed, you get better sleep and there is no need to worry with the digestive symptoms either. And I think I did mention earlier about the physical activities. Yes, you are not supposed to do any physical activities, vigorous physical activities immediately after eating food. And the next thing that you can do is sit in Vajrasana. So, sitting in Vajrasana for 10 to 15 minutes after a heavy meal or any main meal can draw the circulation towards the digestive system, and it will definitely aid the digestion. So, Vajrasana is something that I would suggest. All the other asanas where we tend to stimulate the digestive system, like Vakrasana, Ardha Matsyendrasana, then Matsyendrasana and Bharadwajasana, all these are, and Gomukasana are all good for the digestive system. There are also some standing asanas like Kati Chakrasana, which will help with the digestion. Padahastasana will help with the digestion, and it will keep away, help you to keep away from these symptoms. Sleep can get disturbed because of the indigestion and because of the acidity, and sometimes even headaches are because of the same. So, to tackle all these, we can also do some pranayama as well as the meditation technique. So, breath awareness is something really very good, and I did mention earlier about the Uddiyana Bandha. So, Uddiyana Bandha is also good to improve the digestive system. Apart from that, when we speak about the treatment, not exactly as a treatment, because then you might need some equipments, but what suggestion that I have is to use a cold pack on your abdomen for at least 10 to 15 minutes in a day, but ideally 20 minutes and twice a day. So, what you do is either place a gel pack which is cold on the abdomen, and here I mean the upper abdomen, or you could alternately you could use an ice bag, or you could use the towel, a thick towel which is dipped in cold water, very cold water I would say, and then squeeze it out fully, and that damp towel, when you apply it on the abdomen, but it can definitely help with the acidity. When you have acute symptom of acidity, cold water sipping is seen to be helpful, or ice, sip on some ice, or very little quantity of cold water in sips, or sometimes even cold milk helps, but then this milk should be devoid of cream or fat completely, and whole and cow's milk is definitely organic. Cow's milk is what is suggested. So, these are things that you could try. And I have seen that if we grind the curry leaves into a paste and then mix it with buttermilk, and if you drink that as a regular thing any time of the day, if you bring it into your practice, like even with meals you could drink buttermilk with this curry leaves, and this has a very good effect on the acidity, the symptoms of acidity, like the bitterness in the mouth, or the sour taste that you get, eructations what we call in the mouth, or for that matter even the sore throat that you feel, can all be controlled by the intake of the curry leaves mixed in buttermilk, that decoction, okay, or that concoction I would say, not the decoction. So, this is what I would like to tell you today, and so as always, wish you all the best and stay safe, and I will see you with my next video.